What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Bat Flip, where we discuss everything baseballs. Talking about the sweep over Iona. Yikes! I'm Landon Raby. With me, Dylan Taylor. C. Mitch is back in the back producing behind the scenes. He might be in here in and out. Maybe not tonight, but in future shows he'll be in here. Um,
Recurring guest.
yeah, man, 68-3 in this series. I think the only thing you can really take out of this is you got a lot of guys some quality experience. Other than that, it was not competitive whatsoever. The weather was miserable, except for maybe it was a little bit better on Sunday, but Friday and Saturday were terrible. Um, Vitello Saturday couldn't wait to get to the basketball game after the the Saturday game that was 29-0. It was just way too long, and there needs to be a mercy rule. I want to talk about that in a second, but first, I want to get your overall kind of take for the weekend.
Um,
Besides, damn.
I'm trying to think of words that aren't just one word answers. Impressive, I guess, is the best way to put it. I mean, that was, like you said, I don't know what you really get out of it, but you get a lot of stat padding is what you get out of it. So that looks good towards the end of the year after. I wanted to lead off. I want to ask you just because I've been thinking about it too. What do you say to a team after 29-0? Like Landon Raby's the coach of Iona, and you're on a 10-hour bus ride back to New York. What do you tell your team after a 68-3? Yeah, but especially after a 29-0.
Oh, man. The first thing I'm saying can't get much worse. I mean, good God. I mean, Iona played one of the best teams in the country. I don't think anybody's really debating that Tennessee is that good. Now, Iona is the worst team in college baseball. I think Farragut right down the road, their high school baseball team could play with Iona and probably beat them. I mean,
Absolutely.
some of their plays in the defensive side was horrendous. I mean, it looked like I was watching the Bad News Bears. The yellow, it just reminded me of Tanner playing shortstop and not being able to catch a fly ball. I mean, it was terrible. Um,
Brutal. Brutal.
and some of those pitchers were just sacrificed. When their best arm got hurt on Friday night, because Old Dominion is, I think, a good baseball program.
They are.
Iona only lost to them 4-2 on Friday night, but that kid apparently was their best arm. He got hurt with, it looked like he stubbed his toe, or I don't know what it actually was. Um, but
It's
after
pride.
that, sacrifice. I mean, they
Yeah.
just didn't want to go in their bullpen very deep, and they just, hey guys, you're getting hammered for 8 runs in the second inning. Sorry.
Yeah, you're in until you get out of it. Like
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
that's the spot you're in, which is
yeah, I
not
mean, you
not
kind
fun.
of they kind of fed them to the wolves, but you can't really blame them. I mean, you can't use all your arms on Friday night, and if they replaced a pitcher every time they got in trouble, I mean, they'd have nobody left.
No, not at all.
So, yeah, not a lot to really take from. This is a huge week. I think number one Texas, that's a headliner. ETSU though, tomorrow night when we play ETSU, it's usually fireworks. I mean, the last time we played, Jordan Beck hit a walk off, and before, I think that was the same night where Alex Solari hit one. It had to be over the river. I mean, I live in South Knoxville. It probably landed close to my house.
I
It
was at
was
that game.
a bomb.
Yeah, I was at. Is that where he? I believe that's it, the same one where he rounded third base and swiped the Tennessee across his chest
Yeah.
towards the dugout. Yeah, I was at
Hey,
that one.
I mean, if you're gonna hit one that far, pimp that thing. Pimp it.
They needed to have fun that night because as I recall, it was brutally cold that night
Yeah,
too.
terrible weather. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't really know how to really put into words what that beating was like. I mean, 68-3. There's not. I mean, it reminded me when I was in Little League where we had the chant, "Everybody hits, everybody scores, yeehaw." I mean, that's what it was. That's exactly what it was.
And it sounds obvious to say, Landon, but there was never. I mean, obviously 68-3, but there was never a close point in this series. Like,
No.
I mean, I know you're thinking, yeah, duh, obviously, but in any series, just about there's always one spot where it's like, oh, okay, maybe they got something started here, and it was just no,
And the 3 runs were gifted. I mean,
yeah,
their one run on Friday was Drew Gilbert botched a pop fly. I mean, he let it land. He probably could have got it. Let it bounce in front of him. It ate him up. So he got second base. The pass ball got him to third, and the fielder's choice scored him. I mean, that was gifted. And then on Sunday, you have 2 outs, and you start walking people. And it led to a hit and led them to score a couple runs. But, yeah, like you said, it wasn't – no point was it remotely close. I
no,
mean, what was the first inning? Was 4-0.
yeah, I was thinking it was more than that, but 68. We spread them out. It's
Yeah, yeah. Um,
I feel like I'm just shaking my head a lot because I don't know. I was
I mean,
going over before,
they're
like,
the
what do
worst
you
baseball
say?
team in the country, and
Yeah,
I
there's
don't.
nothing you can say. It's
I
just
mean, they didn't. I'll give them this. They didn't. COVID was shortened. Last year they only played, I think, 14 games.
first year head coach too.
First year head coach. I mean, it was an uphill battle from the start, and for them to. I mean, Danny White. I mean, I know Vitello after one of the games. I forget who hit it. Maybe it's Christian Moore on. Maybe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, one of those games where Christian Moore hit that home run and busted the windshield out of an umpire. He was like, hopefully Danny White will take care of that.
Oh, he
Hopefully
did.
they flew them guys back. I mean, good God. I
I
felt
don't
so
think so,
bad. I mean, there,
but
there was times where I'm like, I could have made that catch.
yeah,
I could have stood up there and took ball 4.
most of the strikes they threw were just. It looked like it was probably
It was meatballs.
83 right down the middle. I mean,
Yeah.
I I
I
don't
feel
want to sound
bad
too
for him.
confident, but
I really do.
I feel like I could hit some ropes. Then I mean that's
Yeah. I mean, across Tennessee, they took care of business. Sunday was a snooze fest. I mentioned the weather being terrible. It just was not a great weekend of baseball. I mean, Tennessee did score 68 runs, so it was at least entertaining because you got 13 home runs on the weekend. And Trey Lipscomb did hit for the cycle on Friday night, which the Trey Lipscomb fan club is off the ground. We mentioned it before the season even started that he's probably one of your breakout players, and he's making us look good.
I think he's the best player in all of baseball right now. There's no
Ooh.
MLB. Nobody can debate that.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I, I, I think
I
Tommy
mean, he
Tanks
definitely
and C
was in
Spade
the
may be
SEC.
the only one that's got something to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that dude's a freak. But 10 for 12 on the weekend with 14 RBIs, 2 home runs. He is 10th in batting average in the country, 8th in home runs, 2nd in RBIs. I think Drew Gilbert's 6th. I mentioned he hit for the cycle on Friday. He was a double away from hitting for it again in Saturday's game. I mean, I think the most impressive thing about it is when you look at how many at bats he's had, 1 strikeout, and that was Sunday.
has there ever been back to back cycles? Did we ever? I know they said
I
the
don't
stat
think so.
department
I
was
think somebody was talking about it during the broadcast, and I don't think. I think that there's been 2 players hit for the cycle in the same season, but it's never been back to back games,
yeah. That's what I figured. He
which is
came up a
insane.
double short, which I mean, once he
And
hit
he,
the
he,
triple, I
he
was
took
like,
him out in
well,
the 5th inning. He had 4 more bats
yeah,
probably.
yeah. I was like, he would get the double. So I'm
Yeah,
going to count it as 2 cycles for Trey Lipscomb,
yeah,
first player in baseball history, best player in all of baseball right now. So congrats, Trey.
yeah. Co-SEC Player of the Week. I don't know how you get co, but whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't understand that.
well, oh well. Chase Dolander dominant again. 10 Ks, 5 innings. He has 21 strikeouts in 10 innings of pitching. I mean, it's easy to watch because there's nothing going on. It's like you can look at your phone, maybe look up for strike 3 or something because you know it's coming. But I mean, it's it's very easy to watch. He's so smooth with it. I know that Jacob DeGrom comparisons out there, which is, it looks almost identical when you put them next together or next to each other. So, yeah, I really like him. And Chase Burns doesn't look like a freshman still.
I want to see Dollander's off speed in the SEC play just because I want to know how legit it is. Just because against Iona, it looked filthy. His slider did. I mean,
Oh yeah,
you follow up with high 90s fastball inside and throw a slider on the outside part of the play. I say that to say now, how does Florida handle that? How do Vanderbilt hitters handle
that
that? But I
was
know against Iona, they were swinging out of their shoes, and I don't know why because they never really connected on anything in the first place. But I guess if you don't connect, you might as well just swing as hard as you can and hope for the
100%.
best. But it looks legit.
And Luke Lipsius, man, the quietest batting average at 571 I've ever seen. I mean, no one's really talking about him, but I think he's sixth in the country, or no, he's
Se-
probably like 12th or
He's
something in
second in the
batting average.
SEC. I think it's
Yeah,
him and Trey at the
yeah,
top.
yeah. So just insane. He's 8 of 14 on the year so far. So the kid just gets on base. He's kind of like Liam Spence. He's, you don't really notice it until you look at the box score that he was on base almost every time.
I'm distracted by what Caleb just dropped in the chat. That stat, I did not realize that, but he says baseball outscored basketball.
Oh my god.
that is that is wild.
You think they have that? You know the baseball players are talking crap.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we still got that dub in basketball. Shout out. I mean, dude,
not
I'm
to
loving the bromance with Tony Vitello and Zakai Ziegler, and Ziegler doesn't even know who he was, so that was hilarious. I'm sure you'll get to know him. And as much as Tony Vitello talked about Ziegler, I think you could see him throwing out a first pitch here one
yeah. I was about to say they may be talking crap, but it's not to Zakai Ziegler.
day.
That's Drew Gilbert may be the only one crazy enough to do that, and even
Right.
even I don't know if he's that crazy.
Yeah, him or Evan Russell will say something. But yeah, that's just another. He's another kid like this baseball program is just pumped out. Just that personality that come to work every day and you know see the results happen in front of you. That's kind of how this whole baseball program has been since Vitello took over. So really cool to see that. And I do want to mention somebody else that had kind of a quiet weekend. Drew Gilbert. Everything he hits is on a rope. Yeah, we do. Caleb is he's campaigning for me to throw out a first pitch. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but we'll see.
I'm on
Maybe
board.
we can
I don't see why it can't.
get in front of the right people and see what happens. Um, but 4 for 6 on the weekend, 8 RBIs. I mean, just even his doubles go over the fence. I mean, he's 2 ground rule doubles on the year.
I like what they said about the short part of the right field fence. It's a good thing that it's that short because the balls he hits out there would probably go through it if the fence was there, and it would still be a ground rule double. So
Oh, 100%.
might as well save Danny White some money there. Smart
Yeah.
moves.
But Tennessee is leading the country in a lot of categories. Batting average with 395, which is insane. Walks, home runs, on base percentage, slugging percentage, runs. They're second in doubles, third in ERA, and I think one or two. I can't remember which one it is, but Texas is ahead of them in ERA. So that's going to be an interesting matchup on Friday. I'm excited to see that. Um, I mean, I don't. Texas is one. Thanks, Caleb. I don't really know what else to really. If y'all have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. I think one thing I'd like to see is, or I'll ask you, lineup wise, is there any position you're like that's still a competition, or that's still being worked on at this point? Because there's not a lot, in my opinion.
No, catcher, left field, and second base, I guess, are the only ones that I wouldn't even call it a competition, but based off guys we've seen step up, I think, I mean, if Jared Dickey can hit like this all the time, who's to say Evan Russell doesn't go back to left field and let's let's say Seth Stevenson, if he's struggling, he goes to more of a bench role then. Second base, let's say Ortega struggles. Christian Moore's got a couple bombs already. Who says he can't step up there? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's what we've mentioned the first two episodes, and it's the word I've said more than anything else, options. Now, still waiting to see if they're proven, but after 68-3, I like our chances.
Yeah, this is definitely a really deep team. So it's good to get all those guys some reps and a lot of reps. I mean, I think you played like 20 players in like every game, which is insane. Um, so I do like Jared Dickey, and maybe not catcher because I think the only reason why he was at catcher was Charlie Taylor was injured. But I think you're right. Keeping him out of the lineup is going to be tough because kid's hitting 800. I
Freshman of the
mean,
week.
yeah, 8 for 10, redshirt freshman. You mentioned freshman of the week. I mean, there's at what point you're like, hey guys, we got to put him in somewhere, some way. So I think that DH role is still one of the positions that's being kind of worked on, tweaked a little bit. Because Kyle Booker hasn't, produced probably like how they like, and same with Logan Chambers. So you got a guy hitting 800. How do you say no to that?
You don't until he doesn't hit 800 anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I thought another one was shortstop, and not defensive wise, but I think Cortland Lawson needed to have a really good weekend. He did that. I think he was 3 for 7, 4 RBIs, had a bomb in there. Um, I mean, pretty much everybody had a home run, but yeah, I thought he was a guy that if he wasn't producing, he could get replaced probably real quick. Um, but he's hitting the ball, and he's solid defensively. He's really athletic, tall kid, rolling up double plays. So, I mean, he kind of solidified himself this weekend, and like you mentioned, there is guys behind them. I mentioned this line is deep, so there is competition there. But when you look at like right now, who's going to be your starting 9, or I guess 10, when you play a team like Texas? I think the only ones up for debate are left field and DH, and they probably go
Yeah.
off of one another.
Yeah. It depends on if Evan Russell's catching, which it looks like he will be. I mean, you've got Booker, Chambers, Stevenson.
Who can all play left field and all have been in that DH role up to this point.
It's the more you think of it. Here's how crazy this is. We're talking about this the whole time, and I mean, rightfully so. We haven't even mentioned, and I know we're going to get to it later, but we haven't even mentioned the guy that made possibly the biggest headlines throughout the sport is Ben Joyce. I mean, that's how crazy this lineup is we haven't even mentioned the guy that was pumping 104 the other day. I know we were going to get there, but it's insane that we have this level of options yet. Still wait to see if they're proven an SEC play. That's I've got to follow it up with that every time. But still, I mean that's insane.
Yeah, a ton of arms. We mentioned that a lot of guys got playing time. That was your bullpen as well. I think Joyce threw 1 inning this weekend. So I mean, like everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows how hard he throws. But man, that changeup coming at 93, 92, that's insane. I mean, 104 is disgusting, and you should like freak. But like, imagine how hard it is to try to time up 103, 102, and then he throws a 92-mile-an-hour changeup at you.
Well, just
You're not
imagine
touching
what
it.
was it? Was it Friday or Saturday that he threw? And it was raining then, and it's
It was Saturday.
I saw the tweet that just made me. It was like imagine there's a slight drizzle to raining like that. You're down whatever it was at that point. I don't even remember. There's no hope left, and then 104 steps on the mound with rain. I mean that is a terrifying thought.
Oh yeah, it's cold. I mean, poor Chase Burns. He hasn't got a freaking decent weather yet. I mean, he's sitting there pumping 95, 96 in 30-degree weather. And Dolander's the same way. Insane.
104.
I mean, I'm not. Could this be Tennessee's best pitching rotation ever?
It is. I'm already ready to say it. It is just
especially
Ro-
when Halverson and Blade get back.
rotation and bullpen.
Hmm.
It's the best I've ever seen it by far. I
Yeah,
think. I mean, yeah, it has to be. I mean, because last year even your Saturday spot between Blade, you had Chad Dallas. It was kind of. I mean, was it Heflin that filled in the most on
yeah,
Saturdays and kind of
and Blade on.
then it was kind of get you 5 innings. If he gets anything past that,
Yeah.
great. Now it's you've got 3 aces that I see so
Hmm.
far. I mean, you got Burns, Dollander, and Tidwell, and that's not even like you said. It's not even mentioned Halverson. So
Yeah, I mean, all
that's
those could
ridiculous.
be first rounders, which is insane. I would like to have seen that 2020 pitching rotation finish out that season because I think that with Crochet and which I
Yeah,
know he's a bullpen guy, but I think he was going to end up starting or being that kind of Sean Hunley role, or maybe like how they're going to use Ben Joyce this season. Um, that Jackson Leaf, Chad Dallas, I mean, that was a good rotation as well. Didn't get to see that all the way through, but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I show me three potential first rounders and Drew Beam. I mean, let's not forget about him. He's a true freshman and he's shoving it too.
yeah. It's easy to forget about him just because he's the first one that when the next guy healthy is up, he's probably the guy that's going more bullpen there, kind of in a midweek starter role. But
I mean, he looked
that's
like a quarterback for a 6A football team when
yeah,
that ball got hit toward third base. He checked third base. Third baseman came up to field it, so he wasn't at third base, and then threw a freaking dart over to Lipsius. I mean, that was mm,
PFPs baby,
yeah,
PFPs.
love that. Um, but yeah, I think Vitello is going to play around with this lineup a little bit more, especially like teams like ETSU midweek games. But man, this Texas game is a circle, and it should be. They put you out. They got that number one by their name. I mean, last season you wouldn't have played the underdog until you weren't anymore. Hey, you're an underdog. You moved up one spot. You scored 68 runs, and I know it was on Iona, but you moved up one spot.
Which is insane. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
If
I
if
mean,
you
you
win
got guys in front. You
27,
got teams in front of you that lost 3 games already.
you win 27-1, 29-0, and 12-2 in a shortened game, mind you. We've seen what you can put up in 1 inning there. Who knows what that one could have gotten to, and you move up one spot. That's I mean, yeah, like Caleb just said, Mississippi State, Arkansas. I mean, I know you're going off what those teams were last year, but it's not last year anymore. So
Yeah.
I don't.
And are we not getting that same treatment?
I haven't seen anything that really
I mean, I did
overly
see,
impresses me with
I did see
Arkansas.
some, yeah, I did see some media outlets out there like post theirs and one at Tennessee at 4. I'm not trying to discredit them at all, but when you look at the big ones like D1 baseball, Baseball America, they have us 17, 16, 17, something like that.
Shout out those people, the four
Yeah,
ranked people. Shout out them.
I
Respect the
mean,
smart people in the room.
putting 16 teams in front of Tennessee right now is, I mean, it should be a war crime.
How do you watch what just happened is a war crime. That's not
Yeah,
there. That it has to be out of spite that they're leaving us this low.
yeah. Um, Man, it's exciting to see. I know there wasn't a lot to really go off of. It was kind of it got repetitive after a while this weekend, but this weekend is where you see it. ETSU is a good program. I think they're 5-1 right now. They swept Northern Kentucky, who just beat Mississippi State this past weekend. Their only
At Mississippi
losses to
State.
yeah, and their only losses to Wagner, and it was 5-4. This team can put up runs. Texas 8-0 on the season. They just swept Alabama, and 8 runs have been scored on them so far this season. So, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be fun to watch these kind of pitchers duel it out. I mean, the way Tennessee's hitting, I don't really want to take the under, but when you look at the pitching staffs, it's definitely enticing.
Just it's already going to be awesome against Texas, but just imagine if Tidwell was healthy too.
Oh
Just
yeah.
imagine those starting rotations matched up against each other. That
Yeah,
would,
can Chase Burns get some? Can we see that 100-mile-an-hour fastball? Can we get some good weather in Houston finally?
yeah, yeah, surely.
Then you play Baylor on Saturday. They're 3-4 on the year. They got swept by Maryland, but then took 2-1 out of number 23 Duke. And then Oklahoma's 5-2 on the year. They beat Auburn, Michigan. They're in Wichita State. They lost to Arizona, and they lost to Northwestern State. But they took 2 out of 1 or 2 out of 3 from them. So I think three decent teams that could make things interesting. I think these are probably the best three teams you've played so far. I think Georgia Southern did not play well this weekend, so I know they beat number 10 Georgia Tech, and that's impressive. But Texas, I think Oklahoma and maybe Baylor are probably your best three teams. And maybe throw in ETSU. I mean, these might be your best four teams that you played so far.
The competition steps up quick,
Yep.
very quick by a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
it's exciting though. I'm not worried just because I've seen. I mean, we saw it last year, and it looks like it's more of the same. You see the mentality on this team. Yeah, you see the talent. Yeah, you see the potential, but the mentality is the one thing that I think really drives the fans in. So, and it looks the same as last year, even not even more intense this year. So, I'm not worried.
Yeah, and I would be a little bit nervous about Texas because you remember 2 years ago in Round Rock in Texas, Texas Tech had that number one by their name too, and look what happened to them. Okay,
A
so they
showdown,
will have the roof closed more than likely. Cool.
temperature control.
Yeah. Are they banging trash cans in there too? Like what's going on at Minute Maid?
Jose Altuve,
But
piece of
that's in the
trash.
Shriners Hospitals for Children College Classic. A mouthful, but a lot of good baseball going to be there in Houston. I know Tennessee's got a former assistant coach there at the University of Houston, so will we see a Ross Kidd make his way back? I don't know. Does Texas have a restraining order? I don't know. It's a great question.
Uh, any smart human being would get one after the way Kevin came out of the dugout last year. I would have.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it is Texas. They do claim to be the real UT of all time. So there is some delusion there. We'll see.
Other than Texas, who are you looking like? What game are you looking forward to the most this week?
Probably Baylor, just because I feel like they've struggled this year, but I feel like that's a team that every year in and out, they're even if they're not the most talented team, I think they're kind of like Tennessee, where they kind of have that mentality of doesn't matter if you're better than me or not. Then they've kind of taken that up across all sports, really. So
Yeah.
probably Baylor, but Oklahoma too. But I mean, yeah, like you said, Texas is the if you win Texas, how do you lose the other two? I know it's baseball and you got to show up every day, but if you beat Texas, that takes the season to a whole new level. I know it's early, but it would it have a bigger impact than the Texas Tech win?
Yeah.
I think it would. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, this is a revenge game. It's got to be. I mean, they had to. As soon as this was posted, they had to circle that thing. As soon as they walked off the field in Omaha. But I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to be there Tuesday night against ETSU because there's some fireworks have been in this series. ETSU's always got a decent program, and yeah, I'm excited to see that as well. Let's go MVP before we wrap this up. MVP of the weekend. I have a feeling who it's going to be for both of us, but
You want to say it first or me? It's the obvious answer.
you go ahead. You go ahead.
Trey Lipscomb.
King Trey, all hell.
Yeah. I don't know who would be second. I mean, Jared Dickey, Dollander, but it doesn't matter who you say next because it's the right answer here. It's Trey Lipscomb.
Yeah. I mean, SC Player of the Week. He's up for, I think, the Golden Spikes Player of the Week, too. So, yeah, hard
Best
to
player
argue
of
with.
all time.
Yeah, hard to argue that it's not Trey Lipscomb. He looks like another dominant third baseman that's come out of Tennessee. When I started watching them, it was Nick Senzel, and then it was Jordan Rogers, Andre Lipsius, Jake Rucker, and now it's Trey Lipscomb's turn, and he's taking it and running.
The best so far. I think I saw where he's on pace for 168 RBIs this year.
Oh my God.
The record's 92. So good start.
Yeah, that's insane. And Gilbert's not far behind him. I mean, he's got
Yeah.
16. So, yeah, I mean, solid. I mean, Tennessee's bats are just juiced. I don't know what it is, but I mean, it's cold, and they're freaking destroying the baseball. Like Jordan Beck hit one this weekend. Oh my God.
Did we go back to the BSR instead of BB Core bats? I think we did.
I think the BB core is so stupid.
I don't think we're playing. I think Tony Vitello just protested and said we're not using them anymore, and we're back to the old ones because that's some of these balls are just they're jumping off the bat. So that's the only explanation.
Yeah, Caleb mentioned Evan Russell sounded like a cracked bat on the first home run he hit this weekend, and dude, it sounded like straight off the handle, but it it kept going. But yeah, Jordan Beck. Oh my! I mean, it's so effortless. I mean, he didn't even. As soon as he was, went through his follow through, he just dropped the bat and started walking. He knew it.
He's a Major League Baseball player. He's in college right now, but we all know what we're watching. He's just you see those guys that just carry themselves like that, and you can tell he's going to make a lot of money playing this game.
Yep. Opposing pitchers do not like to face a Jordan Beck, 100%. So yeah, Trey Lipscomb MVP. I want to ask you this. You kind of watch the catchers a little bit more than anybody else because that's where you played. And I never played there, so that's not a position I just love to watch. Evan Russell and Jared Dickey yesterday. You got to watch them. Did you see anything that you're like, man, it's going to be tough for them come SEC play?
No, I mean, Jared maybe. I mean, but like you said, I don't know how much he's really going to be playing there. But no, I mean it's kind of like what I said with Russell last week. I didn't see anything there that he looked out of place. Nothing like that. So it's like what I said last week. It's still the arms, just because there's going to come a point where teams are going to realize you can't throw them out. So we're still waiting on that. But I thought he handled the staff really well. Russell more the same. I know Evan got kind of beat up this weekend with a couple foul tips back there. I know that pain. It is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but it's except maybe the Arkansas head coach who will remain nameless right now. But it's nothing. I didn't see anything that gives me worries, but it's still I've got to see him throw somebody out and do it well and kind of do it consistently because it's going to be tough if a team figures out that they can run on you, and we've seen it a little bit, but it's still early in the year. Everybody's still kind of getting used to it back there. You can catch as many bullpens as you want, but till you get in a live game, it's just different.
Yeah, and you see. Our pitchers are pretty athletic, pretty crafty, and they also throw, high 90s, Ben Joyce. If you're taking off on Ben Joyce's 104 miles an hour, I mean, that's on you. You should take a drug test.
The one thing is Dollander. He does have a pretty slow. Now he has a good pickoff move, but once they get that time, people are going to be running on him, and it's probably going to be Evan Russell that's catching him. So that's a matchup. Against Texas.
I mean, he has thrown two people out, but they've slid off the base. So yeah, I'm with you. Definitely needs to. It's playing in our favor, so that's great. But yeah, definitely
not saying he can't do it. We just haven't seen it yet. Maybe he gets up there and throws a laser first guy that tries to steal on him like that. So
the good thing is Tennessee, like if they don't walk anybody, so if you're getting on base, you've earned it. And you're going to earn it all around the way too. You're going to have multiple guys drive you in because I mentioned these pitchers are something. I mean, Frank Anderson, good God. I mean, let's get Frank Anderson print the shirts, Frank Anderson T-shirts. I love the Kirby Cannell one, but let's get Big Daddy Frank his own NIL deal.
Pay him whatever. Pay him. Take salaries from other sports if you have to. Pay him whatever he wants.
Last thing, I won't forget Frank Anderson in that story at Arkansas on Saturday, where he told Max Ferguson was like, do I bunt? Do I get on base? And he's like, hit it over the damn fence.
Might as well
Yeah, he did.
while you're up there.
Yeah. So I mean that's awesome. This is a really good baseball team. I'm excited to see it. They're outscoring opponents 117-7 so far this season, which is just insane. I mean, I know that Tech game doesn't count right now, um, but man, Tennessee's got a good baseball team. I don't think there's anybody denying that. So
Look, and it looks like they're going to for the foreseeable future, which is
yeah,
it's very nice to
a
see.
young core too. So yeah, exciting times for the athletic program in general. Baseball, football looks like it's on the rise. Basketball just took it to number 3, Auburn. You hate to see it, but God love them. We're bringing the boat in. That's not the show, guys. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.
Cross platform promotion.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
take it.
it's in the corner, so I get a little bit confused. I'm just used to it, so I do apologize for that, guys. Thanks for listening, Dylan, Caleb. Appreciate you guys. Peace out.